Hi everyone, and welcome to the A Bit of AI special. Today we will talk to Jamie about his life in AI. Hi everyone, and welcome to the A Bit of AI special. This episode we will talk to Jamie about his life in AI. In the A Bit of AI show we invite people from all over the world to talk about their careers in AI, like how did they get there, what did they study, and what are they actually doing now. Because Amy and me, we met so many people from around the world and we noticed that there are so many different skill sets involved in creating an AI solution. So today we will talk to Jamie. But first things first, my name is Henk cloud advocate based in the Netherlands, and today live from the reactor in London. And I'm a white male with brown hair, glasses, and I'm wearing a black shirt.
Fabulous. And hi everyone, my name's Amy Boyd. I'm a card advocate based in the UK. As you said, me and Henk able to be here in person as hosts, which is amazing. I am a white female with blonde wavy hair, and I'm wearing a black top with spots on it today.
Perfect. Any remarks before we invite Jamie to the screen?
Oh, well, the only thing I would say is don't forget we have our A Bit of AI cafe experience. So if you've never joined us before, the A Bit of AI show runs for 30 minutes. Once we've ended, we go straight into a cafe experience. So this is an online community experience. It's not recorded or anything, but you can join myself, Henk, as well as our wonderful guest to share resources, ask questions in person, and things like that. People have found it super valuable. We have a few regulars, which is really, really nice. So if you want to join us, go to aka.ms/abitofai-cafe.
Perfect. So let's get started and invite Jamie to the screen. Hi, Jamie.
Hey, Hank. Hey, Amy. Lovely to meet you.
So great to see you, Jamie. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for joining us in our sort of like hybrid, in-person, online kind of setup here. We really, really appreciate it. Jamie, let's crack on. First things first, can you tell all of our viewers who you are and what you do in the space of AI?
Yep, my name's Jamie Maguire. I'm a software architect, developer, and Microsoft MVP in artificial intelligence. I'm also a Pluralsight author and create courses in and around software and technical concepts. And I design, built, and run a SaaS.
Wonderful. I mean, there's all sorts to unpack there. Just can you just double check for us? Can you clarify what an MVP is for our viewers?
Yeah, sorry, I should have been more clear there. So it's a most valuable professional, and we're given that award by the community just for sharing knowledge and spreading technical awareness about new technologies, innovations that can basically help other people level up, and just getting that knowledge out there into the community and sharing what we know. And it's recognition for those efforts. My area has been in AI for the last number of years, really. And which is a wide-ranging topic these days, and quite a lot of hype behind it right now. So there's lots of fun stuff to go at in that space right now, which I'm really excited about working on.
Amazing. And interestingly, I just wanted to note, you didn't call yourself like a data scientist or anything. However, you work in AI.
That's a very good point. Amy, no, I didn't. No, and I'm not a trained data scientist. No.
Nice.
I think that's changing a little bit. So there's lots of products and services out there that are, in my mind, are like building blocks. Yeah. And whichever level you're at, you can just take one of these things off the shelf and then get up and running with it, whatever your level's at.
Yeah, no, this is literally what this show is all about, busting some of those myths that only data scientists can work in AI and you have to be formally trained to work in AI and stuff like that. So we really appreciate you joining the show. I think you're going to give us a really wonderful perspective. So let's kick off. Every job, it looks different daily in tech. I mean, you know, we're very lucky. It's a fast-paced environment. It's always changing. There's always something to learn. Can you describe to us, because you mentioned so many things that you do, can you describe to us, say, like an average day in your world?
Yeah, I'll try. There's it's the average day. It's different like most weeks. But like say a statement of work comes in. Like a big part of what I do is identify technologies that can help businesses unlock value in their existing data and processes. And sometimes traditional coding patterns and practices can't always get you to where you want to be at the pace that you want to get at. And that's where I tend to look at AI services, right? So a statement of work will come in, and it'll be like, do we have to do document extraction? Do we have to surface particular topics in the body of text? How do we want to surface that data? Do we want to use does it have to be surfaced over the telephone or IVR? Could it be like a smart device speech? There's a whole bunch of different things. So it really depends on the use cases and the project, the stakeholders. A big part of it is identifying what those building blocks are and what the best tool for the job is, really. Another thing that I'm really into right now is text analytics. That's kind of like my bread and butter, and that's a journey that goes back to about 2013. Because my background was like Bayesian theorem, sentiment analysis, and opinion mining, and that's always a tool that I go to in Azure specifically to pull off the shelf, really, and that helps me do lots of different things as well.
Gosh, that must be quite like that vast array. I remember when I was working with customers at Microsoft UK, I felt like all they ever said was, well, it depends, was always the answer, the first thing you would say. And then you'd be like, okay, pulling those building blocks together to make an architecture, that's quite difficult. Like how do you stay up to date, with best practices and stuff like that? Do you have a tip or a trick?
So I would say with difficulty sometimes, right? Just to throw it out there, right?
Love the honesty.
right. Full honesty, full disclosure. That said, however, there's a few different things that I do, right? And it depends on a few different factors. It depends on the project, how critical it is, the customer's tolerance to risk. Those are a bunch of things that will affect where I look. If the tolerance to risk is low, I'll go to my tried and tested, but they might need something that's not out yet in the market. So I'll be looking at a beta product, but I'm trying to offset the risk against. So it's a really delicate balancing act in terms of the tech. But in terms of, to answer your question, like in terms of staying up to date, there's a few different things that I do, right? So community is one thing, right? Keep up to date with some people on Twitter as well. Engage with other MVPs in the community. Through the MVP program as well, I'm getting engagement there at different levels, which is really helpful. Microsoft Docs, just the Docs. Yeah, Learn TV. I'll have a cruise around some other training providers as well, and that's all so that's discussion. That's in one pillar. The other segment is like, right, when I'm kind of interested in a bit of technology, I'll build a little prototype around that.
Nice.
Right, and that, because a demo is one thing, isn't it? Right, I think we can all agree that. But then it's not until you lift the hood, you're like, hold on a minute, that actually has to work like this. And so I'll build the prototype, and that's when you start to surface a lot of the pain points. But from a commercial perspective, that's when you have to make the judgment call. So there's theory, there's prototypes, but then there's also sales. And I hadn't done an official cert for it must have been about 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And I done 2 or 3 over the last 24 months, and the first couple were okay, right? But there was one, it was one of the I ones actually. My background was classification of like text and classifiers and data, and putting it into categories and all that sort of stuff. But regression was, I knew that was a weak area of mine, and I knew I was going to get keep it shelf friendly, going to get my butt kicked, right? I should have practiced more on that, but I thought I'm going to take the exam, I'm going to go for it. And the exam surfaced that was a weak area for me. So that's another way to keep up to date. So those are like the three main ways that I tend to keep up to date. And sharing knowledge as well, writing about your learnings in a blog or a document in a short YouTube demo. That's I often find if I can teach it to somebody or share it and condense it in a concise fashion, and somebody understands it, then it means that I know it as well.
Yeah. Oh no, we say that all the time in our job. Yeah, if you can portray it, tell the story of the technology, really show it end to end, or write it down, the very specific steps. Yeah, like you completely understand it then. That's a good one. Certification is such a great call out. I've not done that many. We do them at Microsoft, so I take Microsoft certifications. We also obviously take part in kind of looking at them, and you're right, they cover so much, but they really do test your knowledge. So that's a really great one. But Henk, you also have some questions more about less today and kind of more other things.
Yeah, more the past.
Oh, the past.
So we heard what you were doing like now, and you touched a little bit like 5 years ago. But I want to go like way more back. Like, how did you get in AI, and what was your career path? How did you end up there? Like, what did you study? What was your internship? Those kind of stories, what led up to this point in your career?
That's a really good question, Hank. That is a real. So, oh man, how long do you have? I'm going to try and condense this, right? Yeah. So I've been doing this professionally for about 20 years, since way back when. I'm an old dude, and so I started on version 1 of the framework, 1.1, which was early 2000s. But before that, I was always like tinkering about with a computer and doing coding and stuff in the back of a magazine, right? And like where I grew up, nobody was really doing that on my street or anything, right? So that morphed into pre-internet BBS type things and interacting that way. That became a college course, right? So that was a diploma in software development. I then went on to uni to do computer science, and then I dropped out because I was enjoying life too much. So I then decided to go back, and because this was around about 2000 when the dot-com bubble had popped. So it was really hard to find work. I thought I need to get the degree, and I was like 6 months into the final year, and then I was offered, believe it or not, actually, an apprenticeship, right?
Nice.
Yeah, which is super unusual.
Yeah. And
I had a choice to make, and I was like, do I take the apprenticeship or do I finish off the degree?
Yeah.
I was like, so I dropped the degree for the second time, and I took it. And had a bunch of student debt and nothing to show, right? And then I had my diplomas. So then what happened was that was the start though. It started to ramp up from there. And then worked on some government contracts, worked for a startup, and then done a lot of criminal justice and all that sort of stuff, architecting systems. And then I decided to do a master's degree, right? And that took me 3 years. I must have been nuts at the time because I had a young kid,
wow.
full-time job, and I'd embarked on this course. And the first 2 years, I kind of knew like a good chunk of it. So it was kind of like easy street. I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but it kind of was. Because I've been in industry for a little while.
Yeah.
And then, but the final year was like the year-long research project. And that was where I picked up on Bayesian theorem, text classification, some of the underpinnings of machine learning. And that was like a 12-month-long thing, right? And this was finished it off in 2013. And at the end of 2013, had an API that could classify text built on a Bayesian classifier. And this stuff excited me, man. So that was really the start of it. And then from there, what I'd done was basically put a web app in front of it of this API. And that became my journey into text analytics, machine learning, and Twitter launched an initiative. They picked up on the product, and then I just went with that. Azure Cognitive Services 3 years later. So this was 2016 by this point, popped up in my radar, and the text analytics stuff really grabbed me because I no longer had to do all this manual stuff. I could focus on product. And then that brings me to present day, where I started to learn more about conversational AI, Lewis, and language understanding. And so I'm going to stop talking now because I'm just aware of time. I'm geeking out a bit, but I hope that answers your question, Henk.
Oh yeah, so many familiar things. I think I also dropped out like 2 times on my study to work at my internship. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, there we go. We're all learning.
We're all learning. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of familiar things. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that sounds great, and it sounds really that you're having a lot of fun in your job now, exploring new things, giving advice, having like a very diverse day. But there must also be something really annoying about your role, and I want to know what it is.
Oh man. Okay.
Henk always asks the hard-hitting questions. I can only apologise, but you have to answer it.
I'm going to answer. It's like good cop, bad cop, isn't it?
Oh, so,
it is. It totally is. So I would say, right, and this is probably everybody feels this, right? Like a lot of the time, I feel like I'm down at the frontier sometimes. So say like a requirement comes in, and it's like we need this thing to do X, Y, Z, and it's like, right, okay, what's out there? There's not we need to use this beta product, or we need to, then it might change, and if I were to summarize it in one word, probably a few sentences, it would be the constant change, and having that adaptation, having to adopt those different things. So like change can be is a good thing, but equally, if you're trying to build product and on like other layers, it can introduce a bit of friction, and keeping up to date. And I know we touched on this a little bit earlier, but you have to pick and choose. And I think there's different trains of thought about this, right? You can be spread pretty thin, I think, or you can niche down on maybe 4 or 5 key areas. And I think I fall into the latter a little bit. And I think that the rate of change is intense sometimes. So you've got to come up with strategies and tactics to help you kind of like filter out what might be useful and what might not be.
Exactly, yeah. I have the feeling lately that, or like for the last few years, that there are so many things you actually have to pick from, and every time you have this new thing, or like these 10 new things, the 100 new things, the 1,000 new things, and you still have to keep picking.
Yeah.
But
or, you know, like someone comes up to you and then they're like, have you tried so and so? Like, have you tried this new thing over here? And you're like, actually, like, I'm doing a project with, something completely different, computer vision instead of text, or streaming data instead of, data warehousing type style data. And all of a sudden you're working in like a completely different space. So you're absolutely right. I think I'm probably more of a specialist. I've always said to people, when you're, I used to not like it when someone would go, this is Amy. Amy is an expert in AI. And I'm like, whoa, like that's a huge umbrella of different things. It's like, and then they'll ask me about like audio data or something like that. And I'm like, I've never ever worked with it.
You know what it is though? Like it can be frustrating, but equally it's it can open up other like possibilities for you as well.
Yeah,
keeps it fresh as well. That's just, and it goes back to that risk on a project. Like how wide is that latitude? So yeah.
Love that. Well, that's brilliant. You've answered kind of our main questions, but Jamie, we have something called our quick-fire round questions. Take a drink, you're gonna need it. We have five quick questions for you. Me and Henk will alternate. So I'll start with the first question, then Henk will ask you the next one, and so on and so forth. We ask that you answer, if you can, with either one word, one phrase, or one sentence. So if we keep it fairly fast-paced, but what we really want is the first thing that comes into mind when we ask you that question. How are you feeling? You feeling good about it?
I'm ready for it.
That's what we want to hear. Okay, Jamie, let's get started. We'll start with a nice, easy one. What was your first computer?
Spectrum.
Oh, okay, straight in there. There we go.
Yeah, perfect. What programming language was used in the last project you worked on?
C#.
Oh, there we go. That's not
That's not Python.
It's not Python, which is our normal answer. A good one. Good one, Jamie. Okay, question number 3. What's the most useful thing you've learned in AI? This can be a sentence if that helps.
Actionable insights and scalability.
Oh, scalability. That's a new one. That's a great shout, actually.
Oh, and actually a quicker path to market for a product as well.
Favorite event on the AI calendar?
Oh, guys, I'm going to say it's going to be this show.
This show, yes. Yeah. That's what we like to hear. I think I've seen you at SQL Bits before. Have you spoken to SQL Bits before, Jamie? You're a fan of them?
I am. I've not spoken at SQL Bits. I was going to. I quite like the Festive Tech Calendar as well, but that's
yes.
solely AI. But Festive Tech Calendar, I'm going to be doing an entry on that as well.
Oh, yeah.
That sounded like a plug. Actually, it probably was a plug.
This is airing in December, so it's a perfect plug in some sense. No, the Festive Tech Calendar is awesome. It's really good actually for just like learning about other different bits and bobs as well. You're right, it's not just AI, but it's kind of all hot topics, isn't it? So there is quite a bit of sort of AI and data stuff. So that's a good one. Yeah. Okay, gosh, question 4, we're straight in there. So let's go. This is our final question, Jamie. You're doing a wonderful job. What area of AI is on your list to skill up on next? So what are you wanting to learn?
Oh, right. I'm kind of curious about anomaly detection services.
Nice.
Yeah,
As in the cognitive services stuff. Yeah.
And streaming data. Yep.
That's a very good one. Well, wonderful. Well done, Jamie. You survived our quick fire questions and you did it with
Thank you.
absolute style. We got through them so quickly. Really, really good stuff. C#, I think, was the biggest shock. We have a lot of people say Python. We have a lot of people say Python or something else. But yeah, no, it's there were some really, really great answers. So thank you for sharing them. And also that your favourite, event on the tech calendar is this show. You can come back.
Hey, it's very kind of you.
Wonderful. Well, with that, Jamie, we do have to say goodbye already. We don't have that long, never long enough with our guests. So we really, really appreciate your time. Thank you for taking us through your journey, the different things that you're working on, as well as your sort of solution architect role in the space of AI as well. I think it'll be really interesting for those out there to know you're an absolute AI expert, but not with the data scientist tag.
Yeah, Dan, well, thank you for having me on the show. Pleasure.
All right. See you later, Jamie.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks. Bye.
Amazing.
Another good guest. So many great things. The quickfire questions were intense. That was good. But to close, announcements, Henk. Tell us what's on your agenda.
So we have a Cloud Scale Challenge during this A Bit of AI special. So Cloud Scale Challenge is a set of Learn modules you can complete in kind of a challenge setting. So it consists of 20 Learn modules, and you can find them on aka.ms/abitofai/challenge. You go there, you start your challenge, the modules will be presented, and you will be in a leaderboard, of course, because it is still a challenge. But for every module you complete, we will plant a tree. So at the end of your Cloud Scale Challenge, you can have 20 trees planted, which is really cool, I think. And you can do that all December.
Wonderful. So we've got the whole of December to complete a whole set of AI Microsoft Learn modules, guided learning, free online, which is great. And then, yeah, and also have that sustainability aspect to it with planting trees. That's really, really cool. Thank you for sharing. So if you want to take part in the Cloud Skills Challenge that we've got going on in December on the show, go to aka.ms/abitofai/challenge. And with that, let's wrap up. As always, thank you so much for joining us. If you are new to the show, know that you can catch us on demand as well. So you can catch all the previous episodes. Gosh, how many episodes? 19 episodes?
19 episodes?
Oh my goodness. There are 19 episodes for you to binge watch from season 1 and season 2. You'll see a nice little progression there each time we change something in the season, whether it's our branding or our questions. But also what you can do is if you go to abitofai.show, which is our website, you can find out about all the previous guests we've had, all the on-demand episodes, and really go and take a look at what's available for you there. Don't forget, straight after this show, we all head to our A Bit of AI cafe experience. It's kind of a community experience. Myself and Henk will be there along with our guest, and you can ask more questions. You can we often share resources and links to learning pieces and stuff like that. So yeah, come along. It's very, very chilled out, but it's a great 30 minutes where we get to have that chat. So if you want to join us in the cafe, if you're on our website, there's a button at the top of the screen, or you can go to aka.ms/abitofai-cafe. And with that, thank you so much for joining us. This has been A Bit of AI with Henk and Amy, and we'll see you soon.